the business that we're in is the service business of preparing taxes to make sure that people are in compliance. We do some business coaching. We do some financial advising now. And we're going to get into helping people with real estate acquisition as well going into 2024. So we're just expanding our services to really meet our clients' needs. Like,
welcome to the Good Life.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Good Life Visual Audio Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, C. Muzan. I got Coach here. Say what's up, Coach.
What up, though?
We lost you.
5 hours later.
Come on, man. Why you keep doubting me like that? Right? I had at least a minute 40 left.
It literally cut out all your sound. It literally cut out every single bit. It just said, and then you came back
So
in
you
talking.
couldn't hear none of that?
I couldn't hear none of it.
Really?
Maybe
Like-
on
like
Instagram.
nothing?
I mean, maybe on Instagram heard a little. But
man.
Over here on Facebook and then in the live, yeah, we didn't hear anything. But
Wow.
your presence was felt, my guy. It's just not your
Well,
day. It's just not your day.
It is a tough day. You're correct. It's a
just-
tough day.
It's not
Wow.
your day.
None of that? Like not
None
even
of
a
that.
little bit?
Not even a little, man. It got none. But it's okay. We're still here. We're still here. How's your week been, man?
I mean, yeah, it's been all right. It's been all right.
It's been a hard week.
I mean, on the brighter side of things, Detroit Lions are looking pretty good. St. Brown returned to practice as the Lions start back up week 1 of their 17-week march to the Super Bowl. And I'm just very excited, man. You know, a lot of people keep doubting the Detroit Lions, Detroit as a city, the people of Detroit, Uncle Jalen. And I, for one, won't stand for it. And,
Well, listen, I don't know if you saw this, but yes, we are going to follow the money. Yes, we see that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to need you to put this clip up here. Ash, go ahead and put this clip right here of the first play of the NFL season for the Detroit Lions. Let's roll that footage.
Might get a chance to catch up with Jared later in the broadcast. Sudfeld under pressure on his first throw, looking for Jameson Williams, and it's intercepted on the opening throw of the game.
And then once you know what actually happened in the first play, you can see how wrong this man is going to be about his Detroit Lions this year, marching all the way to the Super Bowl, but it's okay.
Hate.
It's okay.
There's a lot of hate going on here,
Listen, we have
and
hope.
that's all right. As you know, Detroit, we're used to this.
We have
you know?
hope. We have hope. You have hope. It's good to hear. It's good to hear. Either way, we appreciate everybody checking in and tapping in with us as always. Everybody that continues to like, share, comment, all of that good stuff. We appreciate you. If you have not jumped into the Facebook group, please go ahead and jump into the Facebook group. That's where Kabi and I are giving you more content, more access to us having these conversations around our health and our wealth and making sure that we're designing a life we don't need a break from. So jump into that Facebook group and again, continue to check out the podcast on YouTube, check out the podcast on Apple or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Throw us a review, throw us a like. We appreciate it because we want to make sure that you guys are getting the value that you need to design the life you don't need a break from. So let's dive into our next segment because today we got a special guest. So I want everyone to stay close. We got a real special guest joining us, but let's dive into our part of the episode we call 2 by 2.
2 by 2.
Yeah, that's right. That's where Kabi and I give you our 2-minute take on a topic. And today we're going to talk about something that might be top of the news mind for a lot of people. I don't know if that makes sense. News mind, top of news mind. I don't know. But either way, hey, from Hawaii to Southern California, some of you have been seeing this. Extreme forces of nature have been wreaking havoc just in Southern California, right? There was that hurricane along with an earthquake. Again, as deadly wildfires tore through Hawaii, which we saw causing a loss of over 100 lives and thousands evacuated, right? There's a lot of stuff happening. The aftermath of both of these things are super are unpredictable as far as the impact. But what's happening out here, right? Like, what's going on with this weather? What should we be thinking about when it comes to these natural disasters? Should we call them disasters? I don't know.
Well, listen here, Chris. I don't know. I don't know what we should be looking forward to. I don't know what we should make out of these events. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, so I'm not going to answer it. The question I am going to answer is when I look across the great United States of America, when I look across the great planet, Mother Earth, the question I ask myself is, of these so-called disasters, which one would I prefer? That's the question I ask myself. I sit back at night, I have a glass of water, and I've never smoked a cigar in my life, but imagine me with a cigar, and I sit back and I ask myself, self, what is it that you would want to endure if it had to? And apparently, what we call hurricanes out here in California, not too bad. I'll take it. It was a nice drizzle, got things wetted up a little bit. Great for grounding out here on the beach. We actually experienced a earthquake in the middle of it as well. Yeah, did I see my life flash in front of my eyes just a little bit? Yes, I did. In fact, but I was okay. I was fine. Our guest here who's coming up, we're going to have to ask the same question here because the great state of Florida sees these destructive events very often. And I'm just curious, would you trade it for an earthquake and a little shower? Would you do that? All right. Would you trade whatever happens over there in where do you stay? What's the city again?
I'm outside the Poconos, right? Outside
Poconos
in Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
what's the closest city there for you, sir?
The Poconos.
City.
That is a city. It's technically a city.
I yield the rest of my time to see Zion. To calling the Poconos a city. I'm done.
Whatever.
I'm done.
Listen, it's a region. It's good enough. But talk about this weather. This weather stuff is unpredictable, but at the end of the day, we're gonna have to figure out what always comes to mind when this stuff happens is like, are we prepared? That's really always the thing I think about. Like, are we prepared? I think you had said something to me like, as you just said it kind of jokingly that, your life flashed before your eyes, but in general, right? Like these things that we have no control over, earthquakes, hurricanes. I'm fearful of tornadoes, right? Like I've talked about like just the wind spout coming down, not like the tornado that we hear up here in like the Northeast, but like tornado alley tornadoes. Like those things scare me. They're probably the same, but those things scare me. But are we prepared? Right? A lot on this show, you guys know, on The Good Life, we talk a lot about awareness, preparedness, right? Ownership. We talk about those things. So just when it comes to every time I see these natural disasters and, empathy for the people that lose their lives, empathy, right? Like my heart goes out to the people that are stranded. And there's some, conspiracy stuff that I don't know if anybody pays attention to what the talks are, especially about the Maui wildfires. But there might be some things there that are a little skeptical. But regardless, right? Heart goes out to all those people. But the question is like, how prepared are we for stuff like this? How prepared are we if something like that happens? Would we know how to react? Would we know what to grab? Would we know where to go or what to do? I just think preparedness is so important. And the more that we see these types of things, the more it just reminds us that like we really do have to be aware and prepared of like what's happening around us at all times, even from this weather front. So just something to think about to make sure that we are able to take care of ourselves and our family in case anything happens. But definitely staying away from the tornadoes. I'm trying to stay away from them as long as I possibly can. That's right. The goal. That's the goal.
And no sharks.
Yeah. There was a shark on Miami Beach. Talk about, again, we got to bring our guest on because we'll talk a little bit. He probably has some insight on Florida, right? On Florida weather, since he's down in Florida. But let's dive into the show, ladies and gentlemen. We wanted to make sure that, as always, here on The Good Life, we make sure that we talk on these topics on health and wealth, and make sure that we have all of the resources and information that we need, that you need, in order to design your ideal life. We got a special guest that's joining us today. He's a good friend of ours. And him and I go way back to college. He is the corporate athlete, right? Actually has an athletic background, also now in the work world. And we're going to get a chance to talk a little bit more to him about what it is to be a CPA, to be in the accounting space, and be a partner. So we're going to bring him up. Corey Patterson. CP, we appreciate having you on, man. Thank you for joining us here on The Good Life, man.
Hey, appreciate you having me. Good evening, y'all. Good evening.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Mr. Patterson. Give you the proper. I'll give you the proper respect here on this show.
CP and I go way back, so it's always CP for me, right? It is what it is.
If you call me CP, you family. That's what people call me CP. They family.
All right.
That's
I'm gonna
right.
switch it up. I'm gonna switch it up. I would like to be family.
He's like me. Before we dive in and give you a second to like kind of introduce yourself a bit, we've already let the cat out the bag that you're down there in Florida. What's your take on Florida hurricanes, man? Just real quick, like the weather down in Florida. I know you're from Houston, right? So
that's right.
Like weather is a little bit different in both places, but like, what's your vibe with like Florida weather right now?
I'll take it any day of the week. I mean, I think the thing that we have to worry about is hurricanes. But in all honesty, where I'm at, I don't think we've really experienced a serious hurricane, maybe like the last decade. You know, knock on wood. I want to keep that trend going. But yeah, so I'll take it any day, because when a hurricane comes, you know before it gets there. So you have an opportunity to take your little vacation. You can book a flight and go somewhere else. You don't have to stay here and wait it out, you know, and come back when everything's done, you know. So you can't beat that. You can't beat that. I'll take that any day. I don't want a tornado, no random, like, oh my God, I have to fear for my life for 10 minutes. I don't want that. I don't want an earthquake. I don't want the ground to be shaking. I'm running the ground shaking. I can't run away from it. I don't want that. I don't want any blizzards. I don't want to be cold. Yeah, I'll take a hurricane. I'll definitely take that any day. Any day. No flooding. Hurricane. Give me a hurricane. Yeah.
When you put it in that perspective, you're probably right.
Wait, no flooding. What about a hurricane?
You know what? To be honest, for the most part, the problem with the hurricane is more of the winds and the rain. Yeah. Sometimes you do get those hurricanes where they're just dumping water, but most of the time it's the winds that are just throwing things around. And the homes down here are designed for it, right? Because of the history of Florida. So we're better equipped to just deal with that. So I'll take that all day. I mean, if it's not a category 3, people are outside flying a kite. Right. So anything category 2, tropical storms, category 1, yeah, we're outside flying the kite. Definitely taking it. Surfing. We're surfing. You know, we're doing all that type of stuff.
That's it, man. That's it. Well,
yeah.
Fair enough. Sounds better than Philadelphia.
Oh my gosh, this guy. Anyway, CP, we appreciate you having on. Hey, introduce yourself to the podcast. Where are you from? What you do? Background. I could intro you, but I want you to do it yourself, and then we'll dive into a couple questions for you.
Okay, so full name, Corey G. Patterson. I'm a CPA, originally from Houston, Texas. I'm in the South Florida area, that Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. Been a partner now for a year, been practicing for about 10 years. And I'm in that tax space. So if you need any assistance with like taxes, that's my wheelhouse. That's what I do.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Open it up. I know this is something that Kabi and I talked about before, but one of the things that we're big on, especially on the podcast, is making sure that we break things down to a very elementary level for people, because we never know like who's listening. So can you explain, like you're explaining it to a 5-year-old, what's a CPA and like what's a managing part? Like what do you do? Like what does your job entail?
Oh yeah, that's good, because I think that most people probably don't even know what that is. So CPA stands for Certified Public Accountant. Basically, I'm like the top tier of accountancy, right? So you can go to school, you can get a bachelor's in accounting, you get a master's in accounting, but this is like the certificate that kind of certifies everybody and puts everybody on like an even playing field to say that, hey, you do know what we feel like is important from an accounting standpoint, and it covers like business, audit, taxes, and like financial statement analysis and things like that. And so and this is the interesting thing too, because you don't have to be a CPA to practice taxes. You don't have to be a CPA to be an accountant. It just kind of gives you it just lets everyone know that you definitely understand certain components of the accounting industry. But anybody can technically be an accountant. Anybody can do taxes. It just kind of it's just a license that kind of certifies some of the things that we do. Yeah. Oh, and a partner. So I'm a partner in the CPA firm, and that's a whole different animal in itself, right? So basically, when you say partner, you could just change that word and say business owner. So I'm a business owner, and the business that we're in is the service business of preparing taxes to make sure that people are in compliance. We do some business coaching. We do some financial advising now. And we're going to get into helping people with real estate acquisition as well going into 2024. So we're just expanding our services to really meet our clients' needs. Like most of our clients are like middle class, working individuals, small business owners. And so we find that the things that they need the most is people are like in their business, like owner operators, and they're having a hard time just being an owner. Like they're doing every component of the business. And we try to help people transition away from that. And then we also, one of the biggest purchases that most people make is their primary residence. Like most of our clients, like the biggest purchase that they're going to make in their lifetime is probably going to be that, maybe an investment property. So we just want to be able to help them full service with that.
For sure.
So CP, appreciate you making the time to be on the podcast. We've been looking forward to having you for a while now. And if nothing else, is to provide some counter evidence here to the buffoonery that Chris has been spewing on these here airwaves. So I appreciate you coming in to tell the truth. We've already had a gentleman come in and tell the truth on him, and he didn't like it too much. So speak lightly, because he might not invite you back. But if I may bring the question back a little bit, I think this is a very important point, and I'll bring the question back a little bit. So if you had to take all of what you just said and just summarize it, right? Like literally 5-year-old go, hi, Mr. CP, what do you do? Right? Just like, give me like a sentence. Give me like a one sentence of like, bam, this is what I do.
So in short, I help people accomplish their goals through tax and compliance.
Got it.
And I guess compliance is not a 5-year-old word, but taxes and rules. Taxes and rules.
Okay. And are these all people or certain types of people or businesses? And like who are these people?
No, it's all people. It's a range of people located all over the world. You don't have to be in Florida. I have clients all over the country. Some clients are kind of what they refer to as expats, where they're U.S. citizens but living abroad. So a big scope. Okay.
And is it just if I come to you, can you just help me with taxes? Are there other things that you can help me with? I mean, you mentioned compliance, but let's say maybe I don't have a business or something.
So I can help you with taxes, but we do specialize in, because you're probably not gonna need a lot of help from me if you don't have a business and you just work like a W-2 job where you're gonna get a W-2 at the end of the year. It's probably not going to be a lot of questions that you have for me other than like, am I contributing the right amount to my 401k, or am I withholding the right amount from my paycheck every week? But other than questions like that, you're probably not going to have a ton of questions for me. The business owners probably need me a lot more because they have a lot of moving parts that are taking place every day. So they probably have a lot more questions. It's probably like a lot more things I could do for them, but I can honestly help everybody.
Is there like a let's say revenue cutoff, or do you help like individuals across a wide spectrum of revenue or size of company or business?
So what you're actually saying is an interesting question, because the short answer is I help everybody, right? I help everybody from A to Z. So I help the person. You could be a person that literally maybe you just got out of your parents' house, teenager, I'm doing your parents' return, and now you're working at the mall. You have a W-2. You need help filing your tax return, right? So I can help you. You probably don't need a lot of help. You probably can help yourself, but I can help you if you need help, right? But then we also have some clients that have numerous investments and real estate portfolios and a lot of businesses that do really, really well. I would say million plus gross sales, right? And I can help them as well. So there's not a cap, there's not a limit. But the what I was gonna say is there is a point to where if you are looking to, as a business owner, if you are looking to scale, if you are looking to kind of create processes, you do have to have some kind of like, this is my product menu, right? You have to kind of find that area of expertise so you can be great at something versus just good at a lot of things. So we are getting to a point to where we're kind of refining and honing in on our services to where we're not everything for everybody, where we're that company that just makes a really, really good cheeseburger with 3 pickles, mustard, and ketchup. We can take the pickles off, but don't ask us for lettuce or onions, right? Like, what we do is we make a really, really good cheeseburger, one that's worth your while. And so we're becoming that because we feel like that gives us a model that you can scale and we can create those processes. And we want to teach other business owners like to hone in on their skill sets to be great at one thing versus trying to be everything for everybody. Because then it's impossible to like have that redundancy and growth.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I'm gonna toss this one here your way. I got a lot of questions before I throw it back to Chris here to see whatever else kind of he's got to say. It's probably not as important, but it's all right. So he said it. I like the analogy of the cheeseburger, right? Or if you will, a chicken sandwich. Let's make you Chick-fil-A because it's a little bit better than McDonald's. All right. So again, what is your chicken sandwich? What is your chicken sandwich? What is the thing that you guys are really moving towards, like specializing in and being known for?
So I think our chicken sandwich is going to be our ability, in short, our ability to help business owners scale their business. That's going to be the chicken sandwich. What we found is that you have companies like H&R Block, you have TurboTax, which cater to a certain demographic of taxpayers, right? And then you have like regional firms, and then you have like the big 4 firms that really cater to like those bigger clienteles, like those bigger companies, the Fortune 500 companies. And then you have like this middle class that's really, they're just kind of floating around. Like no one's really catering to them. There's a lot of CPs out there that people are going to, but there's not really like a middle class accounting firm that's really just catering to like that middle class. And so we want to be that. And so what we asked ourselves is like, well, what's important when you're dealing with the middle class? And then that's when we get into like investment properties, retirement structure, business owners that want to be owners and not owner operators, right? And so that's becoming our chicken sandwich. Like our chicken sandwich is becoming like what the middle class wants to eat every night for dinner. Like we're not really focusing on the class below the middle class. We're not trying to go too much higher than the middle class. Like our focus solely is that middle class person that doesn't have anyone that's trying to relate to them or speak to them.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
Chris, right before you go, I got to follow up on this, man. You're dropping so many gems. I got to follow up on this before Chris goes here. How do you define the middle class?
That's a good question. The middle class to me is like a range of household income. I would say it starts at maybe about 60, 70K. And then it could go up as high as 5 million, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Whoa. For me, you're still middle class. Like I have some clients that are in that 5 million category, and they don't have the ability to like just do whatever, whenever. They still have to be conscious of their spending and how they're moving. When you get out of that middle class, like when you're above the middle class, you're not thinking about your spending. Like you really could not overspend. You don't have to really worry about that. Like, so we're just below that threshold where people are still worrying about their spending. They might be taking that nice vacation. They may have that nice house, but they're still conscious of their spending, and they're still worried about what they're doing with their dollar. Right. So we want to deal with the people that are concerned about their spending. The people that are not concerned about their spending, not our client. Yeah. And the people that are just below that threshold where they're trying to figure things out and trying to get their bearings, that's not our client either, because we don't want to break anybody's back with our fee structure and what it takes for us to be successful in the relationship.
Yeah, that's smart. I was gonna say that, like, just as you guys are talking and as you're talking it through, CP, it's like, you know, there is a certain level that you have to be at in order to need a CPA. Right. Right. Like there is a bottom tier of like, hey, you have one job, you're on one W-2, right? You only have one source of income with zero investments. Like you probably don't need a CPA. You don't need to pay for someone. You just need to get your taxes filed, right? And you can learn how to do that. And in all honesty, like, I'm pretty sure the government makes it free for you to file your taxes.
Yeah, that's right.
Chris and CP, I'm gonna throw this out at the two money folks here. All right. And when we're saying they're at 5 mil, right? What are we talking about here? Is that for the lay person, right? Is that 5 mil liquid in the bank? Is that 5 mil, probably not under the mattress? So let's rule that one out, right? I'm guessing those aren't your clients either. Otherwise, if they are, I do know a good attorney for you. All right. So is it 5 mil in the bank? Is it 5 mil worth of assets? Is it 5 mil of the combo? Is it 5 mil in their 401k retirement? Like what constitutes as part of that 5 mil?
So it's more of a net worth. Like a lot of people that have that type of money, it would be foolish for them just to have $5 million cash in a bank account. So normally it's working for them to some degree, and then a piece of it may be liquid cash for a safety net in case a rainy day happens or an opportunity comes up. But it's normally spread out. Cash is an asset, real estate is an asset, equities or stocks. All right, let me keep it simple: stock, bonds. That's equity. That's an asset. So it's normally spread out across the board. It's normally spread out. But if they needed to, they can liquidate and get to $5 million.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So
thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, it's a net worth. It's a net worth conversation, right? Like kind of assets minus liabilities, right? What do you have left over type of deal. But in general, again, back to what I was saying, like just there's a low level of like when you feel like you need a CPA, and then obviously like we just talked about the upper end of that side. But like you said, that middle class, it's funny because right, CP, you know what I do, right? Like everybody that listens, right? Like we talk about educating, right, the middle class, like middle America, about all these things around finance, right? And so this CPA side, this taxes side, before we jumped on the podcast, Kabi and I went back and forth because I think a lot of people have an understanding of taxes, right? Or at least a broad understanding of taxes. And Kabi said he thought the other side, right? That most people don't have an understanding. So getting a chance to talk to someone.
I'll speak for myself here in a bit. Go ahead, Chris.
Either way, I'll let him speak for himself. But from your standpoint, what's your take, being in the industry now for some time? What are people missing about taxes? What do people need to know? What are people coming to you with as like the main things that are their issues?
I guess the bigger thing, the most basic thing that I think a lot of people don't know about taxes, right? Let's take the brackets, for example. Like most people think that when they make a certain amount of income, I'm going to throw out like a 22% tax bracket, right? Let's say they hit that threshold to where they're going to be taxed at that 22% tax bracket. They think that all of their money that they made that year, it's taxed at 22%. And that's actually not the way that it works. So when you're being taxed with the tax brackets, you actually go through each one of those phases. So you start off in that, like, okay, this portion of my income is not being taxed. Then you go to that 10% tax bracket, and then you're taxed at that threshold. Then the dollars that exceed that, you go to the 12%, and so on and so forth. So you may finish your last dollars, maybe taxed at the 22% tax bracket, but you were taxed all the way coming up. So maybe the actual rate that you were taxed on is not 22%, like if they did an average, maybe you're actually closer to like 12% or 13%. But a lot of people would say, oh, I'm taxed at the 22% tax bracket. And then another thing that they don't take into consideration, that's like kind of like along the basic level that a lot of people I found are not aware of, is how a standard deduction works versus itemized, right? So like the standard deduction means that this is like a gimme. This is the free space, right? Like, don't worry about it. We're going to give you this no matter what. And what that does is that reduces your taxable income. So that standard deduction amount, it reduces, like if you made $100,000 with the standard deduction, let's say being 12,000, 13,000, what the government is going to do is they're going to automatically subtract $13,000 from your 100,000. So what you're going to be taxed on is 87,000. And then you're going to go through those brackets, right? Now, itemize, you have the option to take a standard deduction or itemize. When you itemize, that's what a lot of people are familiar with. Well, what do I get for my house? What do I get for my property taxes? What do I get for giving to charity? That's when you're itemizing, where you're actually going like a la carte taking all the deductions that are available and seeing the only way it makes sense is if you get more from that than you would from what they give you from the free space, from the standard deduction. But that concept and the concept of the brackets, it's kind of like taxes 101, but a lot of people miss taxes 101. Like a lot of people don't have that part. They don't
That's
have that
huge.
part.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. Thanks for breaking that down.
Huge part, like especially the tax bracket side. I think that education is important, because I didn't even learn that till maybe 4 or 5 years ago, like relatively recently. You know what I mean? Like 4 or 5 years ago, I'm really diving into my taxes, and I'm like, oh, that's how brackets work. Like it's only after I get over this threshold that small amount is taxed at this amount, right? And so once you start learning these types of things and having these conversations, man, it just opens up the door. What are business owners asking the same thing to you, right? Are they saying the same type of stuff, or what are their questions?
So business owners are a little different, because with a business owner, like let's say they're not working a W-2 job. So at the end of the year, they have a little bit more going on because they actually have their business. And depending on the structure, because you're gonna have a few different structures, the majority of people, the best structure is the S corporation. For like 98% of small business owners, that's going to be the structure that's the most beneficial. But there are some times where a partnership or a C corporation would work a little bit better. But I'm going to speak to the S corporation because I think that's
so real quick, let me cut you up before we even go there. You would be that person. I think this is good for people to hear. The CPA is the person that sets up entity.
So it's tricky. So we do set it up, but really lawyers specialize in the entity structure as well. So like sometimes in terms of like the formation of the company and the entity structure, you might also want to seek out an attorney. But a lot of times CPAs are also your people for that. But attorneys will be mad to hear that. So let me throw that caveat that attorneys, don't sue me. Listen, you guys, attorneys can help you with that structure. But with that being said, yeah, we definitely help a lot of people set up the S corporations for sure, because it just makes sense why we have them there. Gotcha. And so what happens with the S with the business, which a lot of people don't understand, is most people that have a business, they think that, okay, whatever my business does, my business is going to pay taxes at the end of the year, right? And that's not necessarily how it works with most structures. There is a structure where that is the case, but most structures, that's not the way it works. So what happens is your business does all the activity that it's going to do, and then that's reported, and then that's transferred to your personal return, right? So whatever that net profit is in your business, we're moving that right over to your personal return, and it's going to live on your personal return. And so you're still going to go through that bracket system with the business income that you have, right? And so if you're married, and so if one spouse has a business, the other spouse works for a company, they're going to file taxes on their personal return, and the business taxes, the implications of whatever would happen in the business is actually going to impact the spouse too, because that's going to happen on their joint tax return, right? And so I think that that's the thing that sometimes business owners don't get, is that the business itself is not actually going to pay taxes. So it's not a number, because if your spouse makes $250,000 a year, that's going to put you automatically in a certain bracket, right? And so now when the business income comes over, it's going to be taxed at the bracket of the $250,000 a year, plus whatever income is happening from the business. And the same thing could happen if your spouse doesn't work, doesn't have any income. Now you come over and you're starting at the lowest tax bracket and you're working your way up. So there is not a set bracket. The picture I'm trying to paint is like when business owners want to know, well, how much taxes am I going to owe? It depends. Everybody's picture is different, because the business itself doesn't pay the taxes. The taxes live on the personal return.
Right. And that's where you step in, because you're sitting down and you're looking at what are the areas that people can deduct, or right, like basically put it in the best place so they pay. Are you always looking for people to pay the lowest taxes, or are you just looking for to do whatever they need? Like what's your outcome as a
That's
CPA?
a great question. I think everyone comes to me and they think that I'm great at my job if I can get them to pay the least amount of taxes. I think that's what people want. Like, okay, I know you have all the tax tricks and you're going to make sure I pay the least amount of taxes. And if you can do that, you're the greatest CPA that's walking on the face of the earth, right? And I like, okay, don't put the pressure on, because the tax laws are the tax laws. Like, I can't create magic. We can have a conversation throughout the year. I can kind of guide you in some of your decision making, but I can't create magic. The tax laws are the tax laws, and I'm not going to put you in jail, right? Like, I'm not going to do anything that causes you or me to end up in jail. So that's the first thing. And then also the second thing is that what people don't take into account is everyone wants to pay lower taxes. And if you're paying lower taxes, the reason why you're paying lower taxes is because you're telling the government, I didn't make any money, right? I don't have any money, so don't tax me because I didn't make any money. That's all the things, all the tax deductions that people are looking for. That's basically what it breaks down to, is telling the government that I didn't make any money. Like, I know I know I earned money, like I had gross revenue, but because of all of these expenses, I didn't make any money. And everyone wants to live in that space until they want to buy that home, right? I'm going to go buy my home now. Let me see your tax returns. That's what the mortgage broker is going to say. Right. Let me see your tax returns. And then they're going to say, you actually, the last 10 years that you've had this business, you guys haven't reported any income. You didn't make any money in the last 10 years. The business owner is going to say, yeah, of course I did. No. According to these tax documents where you didn't pay any taxes, right? You paid zero taxes. You actually didn't make any income. So I can't give you any financing for this home that you want to buy because you haven't showed me that you can afford to buy this home. And so what I try to do is gauge and have that real conversation and let people know the black and white of what's going on and what they need to do to accomplish their goals. And it's not all about just avoiding taxes.
That's good.
I think that's really, really interesting for me to hear, because I'm coming from the lay perspective, wherein my expectation is that a CPA is going to perform a little bit of magic, wave that wand a little bit. You know what I mean? Put a couple, cross a couple T's, dot a couple I's, all of a sudden I'm dropping. So I think where that idea comes from, at least for me, is in listening to some CPAs. For example, I can think of like Tom Wheelwright, I believe, CPA advisor to Kiyosaki. Yeah. I believe he's founder of Wealthability, Wealth something or another. And he spends like 2 hours talking about, if you align yourself with the tax code, you blah, 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 save you a lot of money. You don't have to pay taxes. The tax code is written for those who want to blah, 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 blah. Yeah, like, I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Wheelwright, I believe his name is. But can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that heavily influences people coming to you and expecting you to wave that wand and save them some money.
So I think I do have a wand, but my wand is a real conversation, right? Like, similar to the conversation we're having right now, that's the wand. Like, the wand is me understanding what you're doing currently, what your lifestyle is, and what you expect your lifestyle to be in the next 3 to 5 years, and us creating a plan to execute your goals for the next 3 to 5 years. And within that plan, we can find all types of nuggets, because the tax code is robust. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of pitfalls, but you have to have a plan. It's like going on a road trip without a map and without a GPS, right? Like, you have to have a plan on the direction that you're going. And what I'm MapQuest, right? Like, I'm Google Maps. Like, I'm the person to help you say, no, you don't want to go that way because there's traffic over there. Like, we're going to avoid the traffic over there. We're going to avoid this accident over here. And based on what you're saying, you want to see the scenic route. So we're going to make sure you get this scenery along your journey, but like, we're going to map out a plan that's tailor-made for your goals, for your needs. And that's the secret sauce, because within that, then you can find the tax code to support your plan, right? And it's going to be different for everyone. I know we live in the age of social media where people come out and tell half truths. You get a lot of half truths online. You get things that are absolutely true, like especially about vehicles. Oh, if you get this vehicle that weighs over this, you'll be able to deduct this entire vehicle, right? So then I get everyone that calls me and they're ready to buy the G-Wagon. Like, I got to get the G-Wagon today. I'm like, slow down. Let me just tell you a basic principle. Like, you're trying to find deductions, right? Like, everyone's looking for this deduction. What can I spend money on today that's going to save me? And I'm like, let's just say worst case scenario, you're in a 30% tax bracket. Let's say you're in the 30% tax bracket. So you're in one of the highest tax brackets, right? What you're basically telling me is you're ready to spend $1 so that you can save 30 cents. So you're gonna burn 70 cents so that you can save 30. I'd rather much you just pay the 30 cents. Keep the 70 cents, pay the 30 cents. Don't spend $1 if you're not gonna spend it. Don't go buy the G-Wagon if you weren't already planning to buy a G-Wagon. If a G-Wagon was already a part of the plan, then we can figure out how to make it beneficial for you. But if it wasn't a part of the plan, don't go out of your way to go spend this $1 to save 30 cents. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But that's a lot. It's a lot of half truths out there that get people excited. And I get a lot of phone calls when things go viral because people are like, is this true? Like, can we do this? I'm like, yeah, but were you really going to buy the G-Wagon? No, but it looks nice now. I'm like, all right, don't let it look that nice. Don't let it look that nice.
What we say on the show is you got to follow the money when it comes to half truths on social media. You got to follow the money. And CP, I just went ahead and closed the tab for my G-Wagon. So I appreciate you there. Thank you. I would not be coming to you for that. But you know, I also like to upgrade you. I don't think you're MapQuest. I think you're more like Waze. You know, I'll bring you. You know what I mean? Because MapQuest, you got to print it. You got So we'll put you at Waze. I like you at Waze. I think you're better than MapQuest.
Did I tell my age a little bit by it?
A little bit, bro.
Tom Garment. You guys don't know that. You guys never heard of those things?
No. But I do from Garment. From
That's
Garment.
all. Those are the little
precede MapQuest. I don't know which one came first.
No, Garment. I feel like Garment was first, right? The little
even Garment is a stretch for me. That might be before I came to the United States.
That's wild. We're old. We're getting old, man. We're getting old.
Speak for yourself with your little cranky knees.
Whatever. Anyway, I love my knees. Leave my knees alone. These are good knees. Been getting my squats in. Anyway, so again, you've been dropping a ton, CP, about and I think I appreciate you and I appreciate the clarity around this because that's really what we want to do on the podcast. It's just bring the clarity around a lot of these topics, a lot of these things that we might find simple. We deal with it. You've been in the industry for a decade. So some of this language makes sense to us, but it doesn't make sense to everybody, right? And they don't really know who to use for what. One of the shows that we had done before on the podcast, we had broken down the health side and then like the money side of like just who are the people in these sides that you need. Like, what's the difference between a CPA and a bookkeeper and a financial advisor and a CFP and a tax accountant? And then, right, same thing on the health side. Like, what's the difference between your acupuncturist and your primary care and this oncologist and this person? Like, how do we know all these things? So the fact that you're here, just being able to break down some of these nuances is good for the audience. What do you want people to know about what you do, like as far as you in the bit, like your business, but then just like CPAs in general, like what do you wish people understood, or what do you want them to know about what you're doing?
I guess the biggest thing is that when you come to a CPA, when you come to someone like myself, the biggest thing is that there has to be a level of trust and relatability, because in order for me to be successful in helping you kind of map out your plan and your tax strategy, I need transparency from you. Like, you have to tell me exactly what's going on, exactly what you're trying to do. Without you telling me that, I can't help you. It's like you going to the gym and I'm telling you, like, okay, we can do this gym workout. Like, I can tell you what to do in the gym, but if you don't have the right eating habits, you're not going to see any results, right? So like, I need you to feel comfortable telling me, like, to be honest, I'm not going to be able to let go of the potato chips. Like, I'm going to be eating chips, right? Can we create a plan that incorporates my ability to eat chips? Because I can't let that go. I can tell you that I'm going to eat broccoli every night, but it's not going to happen. Like, I'm definitely going to eat some chips, right? But I need that level of transparency, because with that being said, I can make something make sense for you, knowing that you're going to eat chips. We'll cut a corner somewhere else. We don't have to mess with the chips, right? So I think that that's important. And I think what happens is people go to a CPA and they're thinking, I want someone that can help me, like, not pay taxes, but they're not thinking like, and because of that, they're kind of saying like, tell me what you want me to say. No. It's not what I want you to say. Tell me what's going on. Like, I need that transparency. And I don't think that everyone understands that. I think that people walk into, and the same thing should be with any kind of professional that you're going to, an attorney, a doctor. Like, they're only as good as how comfortable you're going to be with giving them information on what you're going to them for. And so I want people to feel comfortable. I'm not for everybody, right? Like, my personality may not fit for everybody. My style may not fit for everybody, but I'm for a lot of people, right? And so you have to find that right fit, that right shoe, that right size, because I'm not the size for everybody. I'm for the ones that feel comfortable talking to me. They feel like it's a safe space when they talk to me. They feel like I kind of relate to the things that they have going on. And so some of the things they don't have to say, because I understand already. Like, oh, okay, I get that. I understand what you're trying to do. I understand how your family structure is, and this is probably what you're looking to do next, right? And so I think the biggest thing outside of the technical components of what I do is just them understanding that we have to have a relationship. Like you're going to be telling me some of your most personal information. Sometimes people tell me information that they don't share with their spouse, right? Like I get that conversation where I know more about their situation than their spouse does that they're sleeping with every night.
Right.
I know more about it. So it's a very personal relationship. So it has to be a big level of trust and comfort in order for us to be successful together on both sides. On
That's
both
huge.
sides. Yeah.
That's huge. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
I hear Kabia said this in the past, again, not speaking for you, but I've said it also, getting your personal board of directors, right? Is that what we call it, your personal board? So like just literally people that you trust in that space, that is the person that can guide you. And so the trust factor is so important in all of these areas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And CP, let's be very clear here. Chris absolutely stole that from me.
I clearly did. I did. Listen, I tried to give you credit up front.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. You know, a little, I said it too in a little back end here. Listen to this. Listen to this. But CP, my question for you is, at what point, kind of twofold, and you can take them however you want. But piggybacking off of Chris's question, who should be, just taking the average American, doesn't have corporate athlete, works in corporate, doesn't really have a booming side business or ownership of anything necessarily. At what point should they have a conversation with you, if at all? And then let's move to the individual who's, maybe still in corporate, maybe not, but does have a very good side business. Let's say they're doing anywhere, let's say they're doing 10K a month with their side business or so. At what point in time should they talk to you? Right? And the individual, maybe not necessarily at what point in time should they talk to you, but who should they have on their personal board of advisors as it pertains to their financial health?
That's a good question. I think that the conversation should always happen. Whether they're going to do something today or tomorrow, you should always know what's available to you. Without having that conversation, you don't know what I could do for you. You don't know if it's the right fit. So I think it's better for you to be proactive instead of reactive, right? So even if you have the thoughts, you don't have that business off the ground, you're thinking about it, you're not sure, have the conversation so that if you do decide to move forward with it, you know exactly where you're going to go to execute everything that you're thinking about, right? And in terms of like who should be on that board of directors, that's a great question. I think that it's going to vary from person to person, depending on what their financial needs are and their position. But I think definitely you want to have a financial advisor, someone that can help you make sure that you're protected from a life insurance standpoint, from a 401, like putting money in a pension plan standpoint, from paying for college. I think you want to have someone to help you with that. You also may want to have, depending on your position, you may want to have a CPA on the team. But like we said earlier, it's not for everybody. But I think everybody needs to look into life insurance. Everybody needs to have a plan for worst case scenarios. Let's see, other financial people that, depending on your needs, you may want to have a business coach, right? You may want to have someone that can help you navigate the processes of being a business owner, help you kind of put some SOPs in place to help you grow, help you scale. Because maybe you started this business because you love the work that you do, but then maybe also you started this business because you thought it was going to give you some more freedom with your time. So depending on why you got into that, you would put those people on your team to help you execute that. And I guess I would kind of stop there. I don't know if you need any more people to kind of get you going, but I think that those are like your basics. Those are your basics.
Where do you put bookkeepers? My fault could be, but where do you put bookkeepers? Like, I know, again, working with business owners, somebody that just, I'm sure you see this because I know I see it, somebody that just monthly expenses, weekly, bi-weekly expenses. When is the right time to get a bookkeeper, or should people just be doing their own Quicken, whatever software they use?
Another good question. Bookkeeping and financial statements, that's information that's useful to the owner, right? So like the answer for that is going to vary. What I would say that if you come to me and you don't have a bookkeeper, and you're like, okay, do I need to keep my books? What do I need to do? I'm going to say, let me take care of that for you, because everything that we're going to do from an accounting and bookkeeping perspective is going to help us with the tax planning, right? So I'm going to construct the expenses and everything in a way so that we can have an informed conversation every time that we need to have that conversation. But let's say you're not really concerned about the taxes. What you're concerned about is, where do I need to cut fat? Where am I bleeding out? That's a whole different animal, right? Because you might want to have that bookkeeper from day one so you can track your expenses, know what's profitable, know what makes sense, know where you're overspending, underspending, know where your opportunities are. So the bookkeeper component really depends. It really does depend. I find that everybody that has a business feels like they need a bookkeeper, but they don't know why they're getting the bookkeeper. You
Right.
need to have a why. Just because you have a business doesn't mean you need a bookkeeper, right? Like,
Right.
So
it's
why
just the
would you need
reality
a
of
bookkeeper?
because you need a bookkeeper if you need the information that they're going to produce to make an informed decision, whether it's taxes, whether it's a business decision. But you need the bookkeeper to help you, supply you with the tools and the resources to make an informed decision on your business. If you don't need that component, like if you don't need that because you feel like, one, you don't have enough activity, it's not that difficult, like you know what's going on and you can make that decision without someone putting all these things into these little buckets for you, and you don't need a bookkeeper. And two, if you have a bookkeeper, which a lot of people do, and they don't look at their financial statements, they don't really understand what the bookkeeper is doing. It's like, you really don't need a bookkeeper. You're not doing anything with it. You're not doing anything with it. So it really depends on the user's needs, because the bookkeeper is just a tool to help you make information, help you make an informed decision.
If I may drill down a little bit, CP, if you really look at it. So I heard first thing you mentioned was financial advisor, then maybe a CPA, then maybe a business coach, and then we got into the conversation of a bookkeeper. Let me go back to financial advisor there. What do you mean by that? What qualifications should they have? Who is this? Should I go to Goldman Sachs and grab somebody? A suit over there? Or like, I feel like a lot of people say financial advisor and having no idea what that actually means.
Yeah, because a financial advisor is like, that could be it's a lot of people in that space. You have some people that are certified, you have some people that deal with different instruments. I think that with a financial advisor, it goes back to the same thing with the CPA. You got to find a person that's relatable, because even if a person they don't deal in a particular instrument that you need, they may have a relationship with someone where they can still help you get that particular instrument, but you have to find someone that you're comfortable with so you can be transparent, because your board of directors, I'm using what you guys, I'm coining your phrase with you, right? But your
please,
personal
full permission here.
Oh, he gets the permission, huh?
Yes, he does. I'm an esteemed guest. Unlike just go ahead, CP. Go ahead, CP.
So your personal board of directors, they're working for you, you know what I'm saying? So, and because they're working for you, it's going to be tailor-made to your fit, to what you need and the things that you're trying to accomplish. And the financial advisor is going to be, that's the same thing. Like, what are you trying to do right now? Because the needs of someone that's working in corporate and they have a W-2, they don't have any children, they're not married yet, that's a whole different set of needs from the person that's, I got 3 kids, some are going to be approaching college soon, my wife does this. The financial advisor is a different fit depending on the situation. So I really think it depends, because there's a spectrum of people, just like there's a spectrum of people that can do tax returns. You don't have to be a CPA to do tax returns. You don't have to be certified at all levels to be able to be a financial advisor. That, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, there's levels to it. There's definitely levels to it. Yeah, there's levels to it.
There's definitely levels to it. Could be, I understand the essence of your question, right? Technically a financial like the technical answer, I guess, the financial advisors have a securities license and are able to, right, put you in the market, right? Like they can put you in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, 401ks, IRAs, those types of things, right? Like you have a series 6, 63, 65, 7, right? Like you're registered with FINRA and all that stuff, right? So that's the advising side, like a financial advisor. When you say go over to Goldman Sachs, right? Like you got your top 5 to 7 companies, your Schwab, Merrill Lynch's, Morgan Stanley's, Edward Jones, Goldman Sachs, right? Like you go to them, they're helping the higher net worth clients, right? That's what they're doing
As their financial advisor.
Correct. As their financial advisor and wealth manager. Those firms start to add in wealth management.
Pause. Guys, we got to slow it down. We got to slow it down for us lay folks over here, right? So what is the difference between a wealth manager and a financial advisor?
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah. So here's how I say it, CP. Jump in if this isn't how you see it. So the wealth manager is exactly that. You are coming to them with wealth, and they are managing your wealth for you, right? Like you come in with $20 million under assets, $50 million under assets. You're moving it from Goldman to JP Morgan Chase, right? Like, hey, just you're not managing my wealth good enough. I'm going to go over here and you're going to manage the wealth. That's wealth management, right? We're managing it. We're putting it in different trust. What's the word I'm looking for? Funds, right? Like VC funds, whatever the case is, right? We're moving that money. Financial advising is we're advising you on the path to get to wealth. We're advising you on, here are some instruments. Here's an IRA, here's a 401k, here's the proper stocks, bonds, here's the proper portfolio management, right? You are 40% in stocks and 60% in bonds. You're some in commodities and some diversified over here in real estate, right? Like that's what your financial advisor is going to do. You're going to check in with them. They're going to show you some numbers on a screen or on a portfolio and say, this is what's happening with your money. I recommend we do XYZ.
Got it. Okay, so let's get a little specific. A use case here. A use case. I think this would be helpful for anybody that's listening. That's like me. All right. You have an individual owns a rental, also owns their primary residence, has an online business generating $15K a month, let's say on average. They have a little 401k from their previous corporate employment. They have a little Roth RIA from their previous employment. Their partner also has, let's say their partner is also, let's not say accountant. Let's say an attorney. Their partner is an attorney, right? And they don't live in Florida. All right. Who's the first player on their team? Their board of directors on the money front? Who's that first player, and then who's the second player, and why?
Go ahead, CP. You got it.
I think you want to come to me first. I think you want to come to me first because it doesn't make sense for you to earn all this money and then you get crushed in taxes, right? So I think you want to come to me first, but I think it's definitely like a 1A, 1B situation. It's not like this person is just leading the race. I think then after that, you definitely want to have a financial advisor that also could be a wealth manager, right? Because that type of income that you're talking about, they do have some serious assets that they're going to want to make sure are allocated correctly based on their taste, based on their risk tolerance. But yeah, that's the way I would lay that out.
Yeah, I would second that, right? Like it's funny because again, you know, how we position ourselves as the financial coaches just because we don't put people in stocks, bonds, mutual funds in the market, right? We can talk about it, we can educate about it, but we're not going to dive deep into portfolio talk. But what I've noticed is a lot of times people need general guidance, right? And then I send them directly to a CPA if they're at that level, right? Like at that level, because again, everybody's a different level, but normally if that were the scenario, I would sit down with them on a financial coach side, but it would also be a financial advisor or a financial planner. They all kind of can do a similar guiding light for you of like, hey, here's how you should be thinking about this thing. And then normally one of my main questions is, do you have a good CPA?
Right.
That's normally the next thing, because after I give you some guiding principles, then it's like, you're going to get crushed in taxes if we don't do this right. If we don't do this right, like it doesn't matter what you want. Right. So that's how I look at it, but it's very, very similar. 1A, 1B.
I think that's great. And I think stuff like that is really good for our listeners who, you know, because a lot of our answers, quite frankly, is it depends. Right. And when somebody listens to our show, we want to give them a few things that they can actually like, you know, use case stand on. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they pick up the phone and get in touch with yourself. Corey, obviously get in touch with Chris. We're on the show every day. But you on this topic, as we just described, if you fit that category, if you fit that boat, you know, maybe you start out with Chris, maybe you go to Corey, whichever one it be. But I think that was super helpful for folks to breaking it down to that 5th grade level of like where it goes. Because I do personally, I talk to a lot of people who there's like, they just, yeah, I got a financial advisor. It's like, what do they do? What do they? They're like, oh, they help me pick some stocks. Like, literally have no idea. They honestly have no idea. I have a friend who's a surgeon, pulling in money, right? And I have to say it like that because, yeah, he's pulling in quite a bit. All right. And we talk about it, and I'm shocked by his level of knowledge, let's say, in this area, where it just needed somebody to talk to, needed somebody to just clarify it for him. And finally, I think he just lifted up. And he's just like, I have a guy at Goldman Sachs, right? And that's why I asked that question.
Right. But that's why, but it's also his profession. Goldman Sachs specifically goes after it, right? Like they're in the network, right? So his coworkers at Goldman, right? His coworker, his surgeon coworker or whatever, doctor coworker is also at Goldman too, right? And half the other people are, because that's what Goldman does, right?
Yeah.
But most people aren't surgeons, and most people don't have access to Goldman. But yeah, they need somebody to guide them down that path. So
that's true. That's true. All right. As we wrap things up here, we have our last take. CP, what we call our last take, where you get opportunity to give, you know, a few little tidbits. If you don't remember anything else, make sure you remember this. That's how we categorize it. So we'll give you like a few minutes here, give you a last take. I think Chris might have a last take. Not sure if he does or not, but we'll start with you. We'll start with you, CP. What's your last take for the folks?
I'm gonna keep it short.
And also, how do they get in touch with you? Let's do that.
Okay, I'm gonna try to keep it simple. I'm gonna keep it short, sweet, and simple. My last take is there's never a wrong time to have a conversation. So a lot of people are waiting like double dutch for the right time to jump in and have these conversations with financial advisors, CPAs. Do I have enough? Do I not have enough? Am I there yet? When am I there? There's never a wrong time. There's never a wrong time. Have the conversation as soon as possible and build the relationship, right? Because I have a lot of people that I work with that literally they have my personal cell phone number. And so if we don't have to jump on a meeting for everything. Sometimes it's a simple text because they saw something that went viral on IG, or they're following me on IG and they send me the thing that went viral on IG. Like, yo, is this real? Is this real or is this cap? Right? It's fake news. And so what I want to say, the simplest thing is have the conversation sooner or later. Don't wait. There's not a wrong time to have it. And then to find me, the easiest way to find me is just to remember my name, Corey G. Patterson. If you remember my name, that's my website. That'll take you to information, the book times for us to talk, all that information. It's just www.corey-g-patterson.com. I'm on all the social media platforms, but I think the easiest way to find me is through the website.
Huge. We appreciate you taking the time to jump on, brother. We appreciate the expertise. My last take is get a CPA, right? You need a CPA, guys. Everybody that's listening, like, you need somebody to help you down the path. Yes, we coach financially. Yes, right. We can help you kind of guide some things, but a CPA, Corey, is going to be able to take you down the path even deeper to say, hey, what do you want to make happen? Let's make sure it's in line with this old tax book that's out there. And so reach out, get yourself a CPA. I think it's important. Like Corey just said, doesn't matter what time it is for you. You got to have a conversation. It's never the wrong time to have a conversation. So I'll end it on that and just saying, appreciate you taking the time out to jump on the show, man.
Man, appreciate y'all. I had a good time.
Thank you so much for the knowledge that was just dropped. Guys, we're going to keep doing a lot more of this, bringing experts on and doing a deep dive into these areas. Quite frankly, I'll be a little selfish. I want to bring people on that I want to talk to and to improve my life. You know what I'm saying? And if hopefully it benefits you guys as well, right? So my last take here is, Corey, got to get on the phone. We will be having a conversation. So let's go and we'll go from there. But guys, make sure you join us this whole next few couple of weeks. We've got a lot of really good guests for you guys. And we're going to be doing the same level deep dive. Let us know if you do enjoy this episode and the way that we approach it. And if you have follow-up questions, you can also ask us, and we'll make sure that we put you in touch with CP here. And guys, appreciate you.
Right.
Thank you for your time this
Appreciate
time. And
y'all.
until next
Appreciate
time.
y'all.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Good Life.
If you enjoy this episode, please take a moment to subscribe and like our channel.
If you have any feedback or suggestions for future episodes, please leave us a comment down below.
If you're listening to the podcast audio version, we appreciate you just as much. Thank you for tuning into the Good Life Show.
We believe that everyone has the potential to live their best life, and we hope our show helps you get that one step closer to achieving your goal.
If you know someone who would benefit from our show, please share it with them, and thank you for your continued support.
That's it for another week's episode here on The Good Life. We'll see you next week for another inspiring conversation.